Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining me. Today, we're unlocking something incredibly special, the art of British charm. Our goal over the next few minutes is pretty straightforward, but man, is it powerful. I'm going to give you 5 specific, actionable linguistic tools to completely elevate your everyday English. We want to transform you into that incredibly charming, magnetic person that absolutely everyone loves talking to, at a party or around the office. We're moving way beyond the textbook today and diving right into the real, vibrant heartbeat of sophisticated conversation. Let's get into it.
But hey, before we get to those tools, let me ask you a question right out of the gate. How are you? No, really, think about the very first phrase that just popped into your head right then. I am totally willing to bet your instinctual response was a bit of a vocabulary dead end. You probably just thought to yourself, I'm fine, thanks. Right? Am I right? It's literally an automatic reflex for so many of us.
And, that's exactly the problem. On one hand, we've got your standard textbook English response. Fine, thanks. Now, grammatically speaking, completely correct. But in reality, it sounds like unbuttered toast. Sure, it does the job of delivering calories, but it's completely missing the extra flavor and the sizzle that makes eating, or in our case, a conversation, truly satisfying. It's dry. It kind of shuts the door on making a real connection. So today, we're adding the butter.
Okay, let's dive into our conversational roadmap. Section 1, the charming greeting and making a stellar first impression. We really want to learn how to spark joy right at the very beginning of a chat, setting this incredibly warm and inviting tone for everything that follows. So instead of that dry piece of unbuttered toast, I want you to try this brilliantly charming phrase, all the better for seeing you. I mean, just feel how lovely that sounds. When someone asks how you are, responding with this phrase beautifully and instantly shifts the focus right off of you and onto the other person. It makes them feel special, valued, and genuinely welcomed into the conversation right from second one. Now, what's really fascinating about this process is the third step in our breakdown right here. We know we need to ditch the boring greeting, and we know we're shifting the focus to them. But look at step 3, adjusting the tone. The sheer versatility of all the better for seeing you is just incredible. If you say it with a bright, gentle smile, it's warmly polite and super friendly. But if you drop your pitch just a tiny bit and hold eye contact, well, it becomes wonderfully flirty. The true power of this single tool completely depends on the energy you choose to inject into it. Moving right along to section 2, the British understatement and mastering the stiff upper lip. So now that we've mastered the greeting, we've got to know how to navigate the reality of our actual days, both the good ones and the bad ones. Look, if you're struggling, the literal translation is just, I'm sad. If things are going great, it's, I'm very happy. They're true, sure, but they're incredibly flat. Instead, as you can see here, we can transform that literal emotion into something completely layered with cultural charm, entirely depending on what kind of day you're having. Let's break down those magic formulas.
For those days when things are just a bit difficult, we have mustn't grumble. This phrase is honestly the ultimate embodiment of the famous British stiff upper lip. When you say mustn't grumble, you're authentically acknowledging that, yeah, life is throwing you a bit of a struggle right now. You aren't lying and pretending everything is sunshine and rainbows, but crucially, you're making the dignified choice not to make a massive fuss about it. It's this beautifully proper way to stay positive without ever sounding fake to native ears.
Then, on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, when life is actually treating you incredibly well, we use the phrase can't complain. I absolutely love this one because it operates as this highly sophisticated, humble brag. You aren't shouting from the rooftops about how rich and successful and perfectly happy you are, which, let's be honest, can sometimes push people away. Instead, you're warmly telling people that things are going so exceptionally well that there is literally nothing in your life worth complaining about. It keeps that incredibly understated, charming vibe completely intact.
All right, let's jump into section 3, the art of exaggeration, and adding sizzle and sensory detail. Up until now, we've talked a lot about understating our emotions, but sometimes you just need to stop being so literal and purposefully inject some rich human energy into your descriptions to really captivate whoever is listening to you. If you just tell someone, I'm hungry or I'm cold, you're practically just reciting data. It's boring. But listen to the charming side. I'm starving. I'm absolutely freezing. Just by shifting to these everyday exaggerations, your English instantly feels so much more engaging and animated. You're actually inviting the person into your physical experience rather than just, reporting the weather to them. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the leap from a totally boring statement to a truly expressive one. Instead of just saying I was surprised, you say I jumped out of my skin. I mean, it's so visual. As our source material points out, using these sensory exaggerations is basically the difference between eating a dull grey meal and sitting down to a proper British fry-up with crispy, sizzling bacon and rich, runny egg yolks. It brings your conversation to life with so much flavor and texture.
Moving on to our final tool, Section 4, Keeping It Proper and Understanding the Culture. To truly master the art of British charm, we really need to understand the culture behind the vocabulary. We're looking at one small word that, when you use it correctly, adds a massive amount of weight and character to your descriptions. That word is proper. Now, I really don't want you to think of proper just by its strict dictionary definition of being, correct or appropriate. In British culture, it is a deep, deep cultural concept. When you describe something as proper, you are signaling to your listener that you possess high standards. It tells them that you have a real, grounded appreciation for the absolute best things in life. Here are 2 perfect examples of how to apply this. You wouldn't just say you had a big breakfast. You would warmly recall having a proper full English breakfast. And you wouldn't just say you talked to a mate. You'd say you sat down for a proper chat with a friend. By dropping that single word into the sentence, you totally elevate the experience. You signify that it wasn't just some casual throwaway occurrence, but a high-quality, highly valued moment that you truly, truly appreciated.
So, as we wrap up our explainer today, I'm actually issuing you a challenge. Just for today, I want you to completely avoid the phrase, fine thanks. Literally drop the unbuttered toast routine entirely. Whenever someone approaches you today, force yourself to use one of these new, sophisticated expressions. Shift the focus, use a humble brag, or add some of that rich exaggeration we talked about. Which brings us to our final and honestly most important question. I want you to take everything we've learned today and apply it right now. How are you really? Are you feeling on top of the world where you simply can't complain? Or are you battling through a tough afternoon, choosing a dignified mustn't grumble? Practice your charm. Let me know in the comments exactly how you're doing using these new tools. And remember to always add that extra sizzle to your conversations. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in our next explainer.